Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And I've been waiting a long time to say this. Today, we are here to talk about Season 5, Episode 1 of Sky's Gomorrah. One of my favorite shows of all time. I'm so excited it's back. Final season. I just can't wait. I'm so excited. I can't even explain to you guys how often I've been like refreshing Google and doing fresh searches for any kind of news on this show over the course of the past. I don't even know how long at this point. I covered the first 4 seasons in earlier videos, but I feel like it's probably been about a year. Oh, not quite a year, but maybe like 8 months or something like that since I've watched this show. And I love this show so much, so I was super excited to get this back. I've been waiting on this day, and I'm really excited to cover this. My Gomorrah videos have done pretty good numbers on this channel relative to what other videos have done. Not good in the overall in the overall grand scheme of things, but I'm so excited this show is back, and I can't wait to talk about it. So let's hop in. I'm going to talk about episode 1. I felt like this was a solid start to the season, and it's because it does what the show does so well, which is telling one story, one self-contained story within this episode that is interesting, or within an episode, which is interesting. But also, this season premiere, I felt like kind of served a second purpose, which was to wrap up dangling plot lines, or to be more specific, dangling humans that needed to be taken off of the chessboard, but kind of like cleaning the slate, wrapping up dangling plot lines, getting people off the board, so that way the rest of the season can focus on something a lot more simple, a lot more comfortable for us, which was missing in season 4, which is really just Jenny, Shiro, and I'm assuming Enzo, because we see him in like the commercials, but like we didn't see him in this episode. So I'm assuming Enzo is going to be involved in some way, but really the relationship with Jenny and Shiro is what I'm expecting to really make up the majority, the brunt of season 5. Even in the stills, or the not, they're not stills, but in the clips that show in the credits for the next episode, very Shiro centric. So I thought this episode did well as a season opener in both telling an interesting story, but also wrapping up leftover things from season 4 to kind of clear the slate and to give the remaining, I'm assuming, 9 episodes of the season to just kind of focus on what we're comfortable with and what we're used to, and wrapping things up. I think it's a smart strategy. So I'm going to go in a little bit and talk about what happened in this episode. But like I generally, with my videos, I have thoughts at the end, just kind of like observations and whatnot. And my thought section is going to be a little bit longer, and my talking about the episode is going to be a little bit shorter, because there's a lot of questions that I think this episode posed that I would like maybe people in the comments to answer, or just give your theories, what you think is going to happen, etc. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the actual. There's, I think, really just 2 real a plot and a B plot in this episode. I'm going to just kind of like summarize those, and then I'm going to spend some time talking about my thoughts. So plot A was this plot to essentially, actually, you know what? Before I even start on plot A, let me talk about the start of the episode. I love the start of this episode because it opened in general dope Gomorrah fashion with like a cool song that just sounded cool, because obviously I don't know what they're saying, but it sounded cool, and a montage of the cops trying to catch people who they think are Jenny, like from behind, like they look like Gennaro, and it's like, oh no, it's not that guy. So that was a pretty cool montage to start the episode. And then we see Jenny come out of his underground bunker, and we meet Omash Maestral, I think is Maestral. Yes, Maestral. We meet him, Maestral, which is actually, his name is Don Angelo. So I'll probably call him Don Angelo because it's a lot easier to say. But we meet him right at the very beginning of the episode. And he's very centric in this episode because the A plot revolves around trying to essentially finish off the Levante clan. They plan on burying their elders, and Don Angelo and some of his people have a plan to essentially ambush them at this cemetery. They get to the cemetery and they find out it's a trap. The police have blocked them in there. The Levantes aren't even there. And they end up getting chased through by vehicle by the police, but then also some of them get out on foot and they end up like underground, some sort of like catacombs or some kind of shit. I don't know what you call it, but they end up in there trying to get away. And there's an interesting scene where this one guy who I think is the father of Don Angelo's, what was it? I think his wife said it was his nephew or niece. I can't remember which gender the kid was, but that would make it his brother, maybe. I don't know. Whoever this young guy is, he was entrusted to make sure that the Levantes were actually going to be at this cemetery compound, and just make sure that the plan was going to go as it should. Clearly, it didn't, and he like chokes this guy alive, and it's a great scene because he looks like a vicious fucking killer. Like you're like, man, like, oh, Don Angelo is a scary fucking guy, man. This oh my straw guy, like he's not to be fucked with. Like he's super scary, right? Then they go back to where Jenny is, and Jenny comes out of his underground bunker and just lays into this guy. Like, you like, am I a fucking moron? Are you a moron? Like what? They're playing us for fool, like laying into this guy. And he looked like a child being berated by his parents. Like he looked so, even though he's taller, he looked smaller than Jenny in that moment. Jenny's like going off on him, like looking up at him. And the guy just looks like, yeah, I'm just going to take this because I know better than to even try to play hard with this guy. And I thought that was a really cool kind of comparison between how he interacts with, how Don Angelo interacts with the people who kind of like, you know, roll up to him, but then how he acts when he has to deal with a pissed off Gennaro Savastano. So like, I thought that was a really cool scene in comparison there. But yeah, that doesn't work out. The Levantes are actually burying their people up at like it's like a construction site. So I'm assuming like a building's going to be built over or something. I don't know, but they were tipped off by this prosecutor to not take the bodies to this cemetery. So that was kind of like the main plot. And then the plot B revolved around Elia Capaccio, who I call him Flanders. So if you at any point later you're wondering who Flanders is, you must have missed this or any of the previous videos, because I call this guy Flanders all the time. He's the least intimidating looking gangster I've ever seen with those fucking glasses, man. He looks like Ned Flanders. So I call him Flanders, but it's Elia Capaccio. He tries to set up Jenny to be killed by saying that they want to meet to discuss taking the Levantes off the board. So Jenny agrees to meet. And throughout the episode, we see this a couple of times, I think twice, we see this car being worked on. So the car rolls up to the agreed upon meeting place, which we already saw earlier. Flanders had like planted his guys there earlier to kind of like ambush. So the car rolls up. The redheaded guy, whose name I can never remember, shoots a rocket down at the fucking car and blows it up. And they start, he's celebrating like, yeah, we got Gennaro out of here. Great. Good job, everybody. And then Jenny's people come from out of the woodwork and just start killing everybody, including Jenny himself. Like, most bosses would send their people to do the dirty work and they just stay somewhere safe. Jenny just comes out right in the middle of everything, firing on everybody. It was dope fucking scene. And they kill everybody except Flanders. They take him back, they essentially use him to get into his compound, and then they kill those people. And then they take him inside. Jenny kills him right in front of Don Agnello. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Kills him right in front of him. He says something like, I wanted you to see your nephew live for the last time. And pop! Right in the fucking eye. Like, Jenny's a cold man, bro. But then before he kills Don, he kills the Don. He says, I know something that's more valuable to you than revenge on me. He tells him that Chiro is alive and says, like, I'll tell you where he is if you put the gun down and agree that our beef is over. Jenny goes, cool, we'll do that. He tells him about what we already know from L'Immortale, where he is and all that stuff. We already know this if you've watched the movie. And then Jenny starts to leave and he pauses and he goes back in and still kills that guy. And I thought that was pretty cool. So that was the story that was contained in here. That's why I say it was kind of meant to wrap up season 4, dangling plot lines, because like you got those people off the table, like the Capaccio, even the Levantes to some degree are kind of off the table. Not really. I think they're still going to pop up since they got some living people over there and they're dealing with with law enforcement. So they're probably going to still pop up, but they kind of wrapped up a lot of stuff there. And now we're gonna move into what is gonna be a very Chiro centric episode for episode 2, and I'm presuming that we're gonna see Enzo as well, and that's kind of where this show is gonna go. So, talking about some of the thoughts that I had. I'll look at my notes real quick. Yep. Okay, so some of the thoughts that I had, and they tie into like kind of like questions that I had, but also just observations. So the first one is at the very beginning when Jenny is standing on the balcony, and we see Don Angelo come out there on my straw, and they have this conversation, and Jenny tells him about a dream where he says something like dead people came up out of the ground and grabbed him and pulled him down with them. That seemed like a very on the nose foreshadowing for Chiro, essentially that dream being unbeknownst to Jenny about Chiro, because he is essentially by the end of the episode going to rise from the ground, aka rise from the dead, and presumably pull Jenny back to where he was before and pull him down into the depths of where he was trying to get out of in season 4. So, he was trying to go straight, get out of the business. He comes back at the end of season 4, back on his bullshit at the end of season 4. And I think that to me, that symbolizes that dream, symbolizes that Chiro's reemergence is going to pull Jenny back even farther down into this world, and potentially he'll be responsible for the death of Jenny. Like that could be what happens. So a little episode 1 prediction here, an episode 1 prediction, but that's what I think that dream was meant to foreshadow. Question. So was that a self-driving car that that they blew up with the rocket? I'm assuming it was. Like, it was probably a thing where like they were able to control it on like maybe like a digital kind of like think of something like a video game controller, like what they use for drones. They were able to control that car remotely, or as like a self-driving kind of car. I don't know, but I was confused for a minute. I'm like, how is nobody in the car? But they didn't explicitly state in any kind of way that this was some sort of car that was hooked up to drive on its own. They did imply that it had something special about it, that it was having special work done, but didn't say what it was. So I'm willing to let that go, though. We have that kind of technology in 2021, so it's not something where I feel like that's far-fetched that someone with his money and resources could get something like that going. So one of Jenny's guys tells him that he has a friend at the prosecutor's office who doesn't know anything incriminating about Jenny from Patricia. And that made me wonder, so, because like I assumed he killed her at the end because he didn't believe her when she said that she hadn't said anything. She hadn't told on him. So is this kind of confirmation that he killed her for no reason? I think it is, and that's kind of shitty. Did anyone else, if you watched the episode, feel like Don Angelo, Maestral's wife, is more in charge than he is? I got that impression, so I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. It's a very interesting dynamic for a guy who choked somebody to death with his bare hands, but who almost seems to cower in front of Gennaro. And then is his wife in charge? Like, interesting dynamic. Not something that I have any issues with, but I'm certain that in the Italian mob community, a guy who kowtows to his wife that's probably not going to go over very well if it comes out. Think about Conte in season 2 dating the transgender woman. So like that kind of stuff. I mean, this guy's wife being in charge is nowhere near as big of a violation as Conte dating a transgender person, but that was still a very interesting, I think, kind of like hint that this woman, his wife, is much more in charge than we thought. I thought the scene where Jenny leaves to go, I guess, take a sneak peek at his wife and kid was really sad. Like that was sad, because I'm thinking like we're all on murder watch here. Like, what's he about to do? Why is he stopping in this seemingly public place? And then Pietro asks when he's coming back, and she says he's not. Like, oh my God, because you know how Jenny feels about his kid. Like, man, like I hope that they get to reunite. I really do. I thought it was a dope line right before Maestral killed the guy, the guy that he choked. He said something. He said, even an honest mistake can become an unforgivable betrayal. I just thought that was a dope line. Doesn't like Jules in Pulp Fiction. It's some cold blooded shit to say to a motherfucker before you pop a cap in his ass. um, and then the last thing I want to say is like I love one of the things that I love about this show. One of the many things is that it's very deliberate in how it tells its story. And what I mean by that is this show doesn't let you know what's going on until they want you to know. Like you don't know what's going on until the show decides it's time for you to know. And this show benefits so greatly from that because that's how they manage to pull off these episodes where like maybe it's not, you know, an earth-shattering episode that has a huge impact on the overall plot line. It might be a central story in one episode, but what makes it so good is that you stay invested because you're wondering like what's going on here, who is that, why are they doing that, and like you don't know what's going on, and it just builds out a story to where everything kind of comes together toward the end and you just go, oh, so that's what that was. And they give you that epiphany, that moment of, oh, like multiple times per episode. And they did it here several times. Like, and it's just how they tell their story. Like they don't go, okay, we're gonna they don't hold your hand and say we are about to do this, we are about to do that. Like so they have the scene at the baptism for Don Angelo and his what do they say, his nephew, niece, I can't remember what I still can't remember the gender, but all the men leave in the middle of the baptism, including the father, and they all hop in, they start going play, and I'm just like, why would you leave in the middle of the baptism? And then it's like it kind of pieced together like, oh, it must be time to go fuck up that cemetery. And like it's that's a small example. Like even with Jenny leaving, like when Jenny left, I'm like, where are you going? Like this is like, is he going to the cemetery thing? Because he should probably stay out of that. Like he's too valuable. Like it's just not a good look. And then you find out he's just going to see his kid from afar. And this show does that so many times where you're just watching it and you're going like, I don't really know like what's happening here. Where are they going? Who is that? And then they just build it out. And then you find out at the moment that the show wants you to find out what it was that was going on. And that's what helps keep this show so fresh and so interesting and captivating. So that's why I love it so much. So that's all I got for episode 1. Again, a very solid opening to the season. Not, you know, this isn't going to be one of those episodes where it's like, oh, this is one of the best episodes of the series. But it was a solid season opener that did its job and also managed to tell 2 interesting stories that are probably going to be mostly self-contained within this episode. Like I'm certain there's going to be fallout from the attempted cemetery situation. Probably not going to be any fallout from Flanders getting killed, but we'll see. But overall, solid episode. My plan is to drop an episode every week, every Friday for every subsequent episode, but it kind of relies on my ability to get my hands on these episodes. So like, I don't really know. I have a whole lot of different options and possibilities and guesses as to how I'm going to pull this off, but I can't promise that I'm going to get one out every Friday because I just don't know how quickly I'll be able to get my hands on these episodes. I just knew that I didn't want to wait until HBO Max puts out season 5 in however many months. So I'm going to try my damnedest to get my hands on these episodes so I can get these videos out every Friday, but no promises. But right now, I can promise episode 2 video coming next Friday. So I'll see you guys next week for episode 2. Peace.